Done?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay. Hello, guys. This is Nikki Jain here, and today we have Miss Ritika Singh joining us for our hangout. She has 2 years of work experience with Facebook, and she's done a master's in game development from Stanford University. So, hello, Miss Ritika Singh.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. And it's a great honor to have you on this hangout today. So, we just have a few questions that we'd like to ask. Like, good gaming. Is there second class?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I think too many people's microphones are on right now. So, yeah, Nikki, please go ahead.
Yeah. I was saying, could you brief us about gaming, what it really is?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I was saying, could you brief us about gaming, what it really is, and how do you go about it?
So you know how you play all these video games, which are pretty much on your consoles, on your mobile phones, on
Yeah.
your PCs. These all come under the category of video and mobile games, right? Now, development of these games starts with obviously an idea that you have, a concept like a space exploration or a runner or a shooting on an arcade game. So typically, when you start off starting to develop a game, you start off with the concept art, which is pretty much what things will look like in the game. And after that, you start designing your game. Before you start coding, it's very important to know what your game is going to be about, the core mechanics of your game, the gameplay. So basically, what a user does when he's interacting with the game. So whether it's kicking, punching, swiping, I'm building things, it's a strategy game. What the core mechanics of the game are really important. So you start out by making an entire design for the game. You needn't have all your levels scripted out in case it's a multi-level game, right? Need to just start out with a basic idea and concept and write it down so that you don't forget what your goal is with respect to that game. Once you have that solidified, you can start with prototyping it. Now, how will you prototype? The easiest way is to use a game engine to start off building your game. Now, a game engine is like a middleware. It provides you all these libraries and APIs that help you do various things in the game. Now, your game has a lot of aspects to the game that you might not want to work on yourself, and it's very nice to have an out-of-the-box solution that you can pretty much plug and use. So, what a game engine does for you is it will handle the physics for you, so all your collision detection, rigid body dynamics and things like that. What else does it do for you? It does networking at times for you. It does AI. When you talk about AI, you could talk about how NPCs behave, pathfinding, like how zombies are going to come attack you. They're going to find a path to you. Your game engine is actually capable of doing that by itself. You don't need to write a pathfinding algorithm yourself. I mean, it's good practice to write your own, but when a game engine can do it for you and when you're new, you would use that. It gives you support for sound, and it does the basic job of rendering. So drawing everything on screen. I don't want to sit and worry about drawing triangles and rectangles and objects on the screen, right? My game engine, I give it an asset, and it draws it on the screen for me. So a game engine is it's very vital to choose an engine very wisely, depending on what you want out of that game engine to do for your game. So once you have a basic prototype, which is pretty much the core mechanics of your game. If I know that my game is, say Mario, for example, Mario, I know I'm going to have Mario, he's going to be running, and he's going to jump over obstacles, and he's going to hit stuff. So I need to have my running, jumping, and colliding with obstacles, done. So you start with a very basic thing. I don't need to have a full character like Mario. I can start off with just a rectangle representing him, or just a box if it is in 3D, representing him running, jumping, and hitting things. So that's how you would start. And once you know that your core mechanics is working, if it's fun, then you start developing your level and go level by level. Don't try and develop all your levels or design all your levels and then realize that none of this game is fun. It's not exciting. It doesn't work. Your code doesn't work. Your idea wasn't that great as it sounded in your head. So start off with that, and then you can go on to build your entire game, beyond that.
All right. For all those who joined just now, I would like to tell you that we have Ritika Singh joining us for this hangout today. All right, ma'am, that was great. That's something very informative, something we didn't know yet. Uh, the next thing I would want to know is the graphics, because we've seen Asphalt 8, we've seen all those games that your companies develop, and the graphics are just amazing. So how do you go about that?
So as I said, it's pretty much done by a rendering engine. Now you could try and write a engine by yourself. Not very recommended for a novice developer. What you could do is you could use an engine like Unity. You have Unreal, which has the UDK. These are very powerful 3D graphics engines. Now, there are programmers whose only task in a game is to develop graphics, right? They're dedicated graphics programmers. Now, these guys deal with all the lighting, material, textures, coding calculations, these kind of things. So you see particle effects, right? The smoke that comes at you, or when you collide with things break apart, and you see all these cool effects. Um, so to do any of these, your game engine has support to add, say, a particle system. You have things like you have your shaders and textures. All these are taken care of by an engine as long as you have very good assets. So you need to have a very good artist who's developing a very nice asset for you. A very high poly asset. That's a high number of polygons per object on your screen. So these effects can be added on to your objects and screen. But yeah, it's the game engine and basically a graphics programmer's job to deal with adding these cool things.
All right. So I would like to know your experience at Gameloft. What is it that you worked on over there, and how was it, the whole experience?
That was, I guess, the most amazing experience of my life. I worked with some of the best people, some of the nicest people I have known. And that is very important. Something that people might not tell you about a job is when you're going to be working as a game developer, you're going to be working 18 hours a day, you're going to have crunch time. You basically live with the people you work with practically. So the experience is very nice. You learn a lot, especially in a large company like Gameloft, who has their own proprietary engine for pretty much everything. They don't use any third-party libraries and APIs. They develop everything in-house. So you get to learn, not only the graphics aspects of things, the networking part of things. So what I specifically worked on was a lot of gameplay aspects, adding some amount of the audio to the game. The DLC. A lot of you guys must be getting quite annoyed with, waiting and downloading stuff. Once you download the main game, there's a DLC you need to download. And the social aspects, so plugging into Facebook, connecting with your friends, game center, all of these things. So those are some of the aspects I worked on over there.
All right. We have Chandrasekhar Raman joining us, and he would like to ask you a question.
Okay, hi.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Hello.
Chandrasekhar, you're not visible.
I can hear you.
Bhushan, are you ready?
He has lost us.
Alright, so Roshan Albera is going to ask you a question. Alright,
Okay.
Roshan.
Hello, ma'am. Roshan here. I just had one simple question: is that in all the games, gravity plays a very important role, as you all know. Always the things keep coming down. So, how do you introduce gravity in a gaming scenario? I mean, how does the environment adapt to gravity? Is there a function you keep on calling again and again, or how is gravity included in the environment of a game? Hello, ma'am. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I heard just till the gravity part.
Yeah, I just asked you that how does gravity help in how do you include gravity in the environment of a game? How does do you call one function again and again to include gravity in the game, or how does gravity plays a role in every game, and how do you include it in the software of a game?
Can you hear me?
Could you hear
Hello.
me?
Yeah, I got your question. It's not one function that's called again and again.
Okay.
Basically, it's an attribute that you attach to an object. You give it an attribute of, say, gravity. It comes as part of your physics of your the game engine physics component is what takes care of this for you. So every game is divided basically into a game loop. What your game loop is, consists of three main parts. That's your init, update, and raw. Right? The update is called every frame. So any objects that are interacting or currently on your screen. So we only worried about what's currently in your view space, right? What you're seeing on screen right now.
Yeah.
Every object that's in your view space and every update loop, you check for what is the force acting on this body, and at that moment, how much should I change its displacement or its angle, or if it's colliding with something. So that pretty much happens in your update loop, which means that you have to be very careful about how many things you check for and how many objects you currently have in a scene. That is all part of optimization. But yeah, that's pretty much happens in your update loop in a very broad perspective.
Okay, so you attach it to an object. I just had
Yeah.
one more question as well, ma'am.
Okay.
Like there are some games that seem infinite. Like if you play GTA Vice City or some games like that. I mean, if you keep on pushing the forward button, keeps on going and it never stops. So is it that you build the entire game on your own, or is it some function that has been called that creates it like an infinite place?
So there are two approaches to that. You're talking about an open world system or an infinite game, right?
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
could have basically it's like infinite runners. So some of them are procedurally generated. Your code basically has say 10 or 20 components that I can use in any permutation and combination to generate the next part of the game. So I know that if I have loaded say 2 scenes onto my game, I need to generate 3 more scenes in the future and load that.
Yeah.
So that happens in the background for some games. There are other games which are like space exploration games that you might play, and you're like, okay, I'm flying around space.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, those kind of games, you pretty much develop an entire huge scene, and basically, as you roam, you will not realize it, but you're actually approaching a boundary of the scene, and it will slowly turn you. So you actually say in a box or in a 3D space or in a circle, and
Okay.
you actually are turning around somewhere in there, but it is so huge or defined so huge that to you it seems infinite.
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Yes, that answers my question. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Roshan, for joining us. Next, we have Harsh, who would like to ask you a question.
Hello, ma'am. I'm Harsh.
Hi.
I'm keen to join this industry, and whenever I say someone that yeah, I'm joining gaming, so they would say that hey, why did you take engineering? You could have done some many other normal science course and then joined some Maya or Mac graphic course, and then you could have approached like why? How does engineers have a drawback? I mean, have an uphill or a benefit over others?
Have an edge over anybody else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say you have an edge. I would say you are a different. You have a different role to play. So if you only learn Maya and you learn any of your asset creation technologies, right? what are you doing? You're developing your assets. You are developing, say you're designing a car, you're developing a 3D or a 2D car, and trust me, that's a very difficult job, and you need to be really, really good to be able to be a good artist, and good artists are in demand. So if art is your interest, you don't need to become a programmer, right? You do not need to become an engineer. So if you are an engineer, you want to be a programmer. Now within gaming, you have a lot of scope for different aspects of gaming that you could be part of. I'm a gameplay programmer, so I deal with, say, how interaction happens in the game between various aspects. So what the mechanics of your game are. That is typically what I do. We have graphics programmers. These guys are heavily into 3D graphics and rendering. Those of you who are engineering students and have Iron Comps or IT have 3D graphics or computer graphics as a subject.
Yes, yes.
Where you learn pixels and culling and all the entire range of drawing and optimizing all of your graphics. That is another aspect. There are physics programmers who deal with a lot of vector maths and physics. So being an engineer gives you, if you are inclined towards art and you can code as well, you are very good at the technical level editors or technical level designers. These guys can actually design an entire level, so you can use a tool to design an entire level, and at the same time you can write scripts, so you can make like a very initial prototype and have it actually running and working. So it really helps you in rapid prototyping, developing a game really, really quickly, because game development is all about how fast you can prototype and how well you can prototype. Um, so yes, engineers, if you want to become a programmer, engineering is definitely the way to go. If you want to do art or you want to do design, then it would be more wise to go into those directions. So it's up to you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And one last question. Which language should we master if we want to get into the programming part of gaming?
So if you ever want to become a programmer in life, you master every language, which means that basically you'll master your fundamentals. Um, I started off with C++ and Java, pretty much like every engineering student. And then I
Yeah.
realized that I like Java more, so I focused on that. And then I came into game development, and I realized that I need to know I need to know C++ for all the rendering. Sometimes you need to know C# for using editors like Unity. You need to know some amount of scripting. So, and you need to know how to use JSONs and sometimes, make network calls and things like that. So, get your fundamentals very clear. Your data structures, algorithms are going to take you everywhere in life, not only as a game developer, as a programmer. So today, I know I can do any general software development job because my core fundamentals are there. But yeah, pay a lot of attention to C++ if you want to get into game programming, because
Okay.
typically C++ is what most engines use.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Next up, we have Chandrasekhar Raman, who would like to ask you a question.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, ma'am. Ma'am, in the start, you talked about game engines, so I wanted to know whether they are open source softwares which even I can start using right now, or is it, I mean, everything is owned by Gameloft and such companies, and they have their own versions of
Um,
the game engines?
no. There are so by open source you mean free to use, I'm assuming.
Yeah,
No, because you don't want to contribute to open source yet, right?
no,
Um,
ma'am.
so there are a million engines out there, there are a million frameworks and APIs. So if you want to start off as a novice developer, I will have a few recommendations you would like to pick up. If you
Yes.
want to develop with iOS or Android, check out Cocos 2D X. Extremely good for 2D. If you're just starting off, try to start off with 2D and then advance into 3D, unless you are very good with your 3D math. Um, then for any other kind of games, I guess Unity is very easy for a novice to start with because it gives you an editor where you can actually design a level. I just can drag and drop things. There are a lot of free assets you can use, so you
Okay.
can put that in. Unity 3D is extremely useful, and you can even develop an HTML5 canvas and JavaScript. Like I just tried the other day to write snake and ping pong in JavaScript, and it pretty much requires you to have no frameworks or just the basic OpenGL stuff that you get for free. So you do not need to pay any money, and most of the engines have student versions. So if you have a student account, you can always request free access or discounted access to any of these game engines.
And ma'am, if I want to use these game engines, do I need to know any language as specific languages, or is it very easy to use any?
Um, So if you don't know programming at all, right? I am not a programmer. If I am not a programmer, I'm just saying. If I'm not a programmer and I want to make a game, Game Maker is very nice. It has a lot of drag and drop, and yes, there's scripts you can edit a little bit. Pretty much anybody who's in fourth or fifth standard and above can use Game Maker. There are children who make brilliant games with Game Maker.
Okay.
If you're using Unity, C Sharp, it also supports JavaScript, but I would suggest you stick to C Sharp, especially if you're not very good at writing structurally beautiful code already.
Okay.
Don't mess it up. Stick with C Sharp. It also has its own language called Poo, which they have dropped support for now. So do not go in that direction. Stick to C Sharp. The Unreal Engine uses C++, as far as I know. So if you're only familiar with C++, I would say try Unreal, but Unity is much easier. So
Okay.
you can try Unity.
Thank you, ma'am. That answers my question.
Yeah.
Nikki.
Hello.
Nikki is in mute. Someone is muted, I think. Nikki.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. So, is there anybody else willing to ask a question?
I want to ask a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ma'am, for if you want to join Gameloft and such companies, I mean, what masters do we need to do in the future after this? Right now, I'm a computer engineering student, so after that, I should do masters in which stream so that I can join such
Uh,
gaming industry.
I don't think you need to do a master's.
Okay.
But if you want to get picked up by EA and Blizzard or the likes, you start developing your own student project, show them what you can do.
Okay.
Have a good portfolio and profile ready. I did my master's in computer science and I did a specialization in game development, which meant that I took all the graphics and game design class and AI and a whole bunch of mobile games and 3D graphics and rendering. What else did I take? I took game hardware architecture. So you pick your courses very wisely. So during your masters, you can pretty much pick which course you want to do. I picked all the game dev related, game engine development, game hardware, everything game related, right? When they see a profile like that, which is very focused on games, and all my student projects were games, you have your own independent projects. Make something at home. Make something original. Let me be clear. Make something original at home. If you make ping pong or snake, which is basically there are 100 versions out there. You Google it, you're going to get code in every language for these games. Don't make something like that. Make something that you're passionate about, and I'm pretty sure if you're good at what you do, you will get called by one of the companies. But yeah, work hard.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, sure.
I have one more question.
Sure.
Yeah. So, does Cosine has any courses upcoming for people who are interested in gaming? Can we expect something from Cosine side so that we get some specialization in gaming at this age?
Now, I can't answer that offhand. It pretty much depends on how much interest people show.
Okay.
And yeah, you could pretty much contact co-sign and talk with them, and if you have a bunch of friends who are interested and specifically what you're interested in, yeah, you can join us.
Okay, thank you.
I've got one question. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I've got one question. It's
Sure.
pretty simple, but how is artificial intelligence playing a role in game development, or is it
Um,
taking any place?
In fact, AI has a huge role in game development. Um, so all your pathfinding is pretty much AI algorithms, right? A star, if you've heard of AI. I think your microphone is going crazy. Sorry. So yeah, um, pathfinding is one very important aspect of AI. Also, you have decision trees. Your NPCs are making decisions all the time. So your enemies, when to attack, how to attack. When the computer plays against you, that is pretty much, yeah. You don't have the mode where you play against other players and you play against your computer. The computer, the decisions that he is making are pretty much different AI algorithms. A lot of them are modifications of your backtracking, depth first, breadth first search, and a lot of them are decision trees. But it all comes under the realm of AI. I hope that answers your question.
I think it does.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
No.
All right. So I guess that was it, ma'am. Although
Awesome.
I would want you to give some advice to the beginners out there who are thinking of getting into gaming.
Advice would be do it if you're very passionate about it. It's a very hard industry. It requires a lot out of you, but it's very rewarding and very satisfying, and you'll be very happy when you're working. And that I can promise, because you will love what you do, and you will have to test your game a million times in a million ways. So yes, you do get to play on the job. You also get to play as part of R&D. You get to check out other games. That's always fun, but that's a very small part of it. Other advice before you're starting, try to learn what the basics are. And if your basics are very clear of how the physics works or the game loop works or how the rendering works, you'll have it easier as you progress. And always start by prototyping small. Figure out if a game is fun, because that is the most important thing. Your game has to be fun to play, and make your friends play it, because you're going to think what you built is awesome, but everybody else might not think the same. So everybody but your moms always love what you make. So pretty much get your friends who will give you very nice honest feedback of how good it is or how bad it is, and take it positively. A lot of times you might have ideas which completely tank. You might develop an entire game to just realize that this is no fun, nobody likes it. So don't give up. Try a different way of doing it and keep trying it till you figure out, okay, this is it. And trust me, you'll be very, very happy. But yeah, do it if you love it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Miss Ritika Singh telling us about gaming and more. And this is it for today. Thank you guys for joining us, and we might see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye,
ma'am.
ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.